So, welcome everybody. You are listening to RevUP and Awaken for another brand new show. For some years, back when I was producing a show on the paranormal, one of our guests had written a book about his own paranormal experiences and coming to terms with seeing spirits, which was one of his abilities. His book was called A Breath Away. And what he told us was that that's just how close the spiritual level of existence really is, just a mere breath away in terms of illustrating a physical proximity. Of course, the scientific side of our mind may want a clearer, precise placement of where in our plane of existence this realm may lie. Is our world an overlapping of realms where the only thing that keeps us apart are mere degrees of vibration? When we think of heaven, we look up as if we sense that they are at a higher vibrational frequency. Then maybe are we mere degrees of separation from all of our loved ones who have passed away? We are all an expression of the one consciousness, and the essence of what we are does not die. So how close are we really? Reverend Maria DeAndrea is joining us as my guest for today's segment. Maria is an internationally known psychic from Budapest, Hungary, a European shaman, public speaker, and a published author. Hi, Maria. You are on the air. How are you doing?
Wonderful, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm all excited.
Oh, I'm always glad to have you here. And in case people don't realize, Maria and I used to co-host a show called Hidden Mysteries on Blog Talk Radio a couple of years ago, and we always had fun doing these shows because the topics are exciting, and we're passionate about the topics, and we just go with the flow. So, and we talk about it. We talk about it like it's like talking about a blemish on our skin. It's just there.
Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you because we can talk about so many different subjects that we can't speak about normally on different shows.
Yeah.
So you're much more open so that we can actually help people understand things better. So I love your show.
Oh, you're welcome. And, what I'm into is, letting people know that we are all energy. That's where we all come from. That's who we are. And we're just here for a human experience briefly in this realm. So that's how I look at it. So,
I agree.
So before I start interrogating you, I wanted to allow the listeners to get to know you a little better because, maybe some people might not know you. Even though you've done a ton of books and you've made a lot of, done a lot of lectures and speaking engagements and done classes and everything, and you've been on guests on other shows. But what I want to find out, just so people know of your background a little, is, as a shaman born in Budapest, Hungary, that sort of gives you a unique perspective as a person that's not from this country. So you might have some interesting perspectives to give to our listeners in terms of being a shaman, having grown up in a family with other who were also psychic, how you were groomed perhaps to become a shaman. Perhaps that was something that your family, sought to bring out in their family line. Some families do that. So I just wanted to sort of, get an idea or give the listeners an idea of who you are.
Okay. Well, first of all, it really does run in my family. My father was always psychic. And then on my mother's side, both my grandparents were trance mediums, and they did seance, and my grandfather also did automatic writing. And then both my sons, Rick and Rob, both of them work in this field. So they have what we call, society-wise normal jobs.
Yeah. Yes.
And they do this on the side. So they do readings and healing and metaphysics, occult. So they do all that. And I find I do this full time, with the readings and everything else. So it does run in the family. However, I truly believe, as you and I have spoken about before, that everyone has this ability. It's just a matter of some people come into this world as artists. I'm one of those people, I can barely draw. So everybody has some ability. So it doesn't mean that you need to be able to work in a spiritual psychic realm. But I do feel everybody has a level of intuition. It's just a matter of what level it is.
Right.
Okay. On the shamanic level, I really didn't learn it from my family because in my family it was just norm,
Yeah, okay.
you know. Um, but I did learn through a shaman. What happens in Europe, especially, and with a lot of tribes, the way it works is it's knowledge that is passed down.
Mhm.
So you're not going to find it in most books. I find, as you were mentioning, and thank you for mentioning the books, I find that I try to write how-to books
Mm.
because I feel the more people know that they can do for themselves, the better the world gets. Because if you do well, everybody around you does well because you
Right.
can help them.
Hmm.
So on a shamanic level, it's a little different in Europe. A shaman actually has to be able to do everything because if they can't do everything, they're not shaman. So as an example, think tribal in ancient times. And it really hasn't changed in Europe, by the way. Now we just look at community. But think tribal. A shaman basically is the religious leader of the tribe, okay, this, on a spiritual level. So I'm an interfaith minister. It's also somebody that does the counseling for the tribe, which is why I'm a pastoral counselor. They also have to be able to do healing because if somebody gets hurt in the tribe, you know, they need a healer besides the medicine man or medicine woman. So I do healing. They also need to be able to do prophecy or psychic abilities to be able to help the tribe make better decisions on a spiritual level. Or as an example, if you're going and you're going to move the tribe because they're nomadic, you want to make sure that you're not moving towards quicksand and you're moving in an opposite direction,
Which could be
which is
helpful.
why I do, right, which is why I do psychic readings. There's just a list. There's a lot of things that we need to be able to actually be called a shaman.
Mm.
We also do the occult work because we need to be able to protect the tribe spiritually so that they're safe all the time when they go hunting, as an example.
Hmm.
So we protect them on a spiritual psychic level, psychic self-defense. Okay. What they don't have, I find, in this country when you're a shaman, that's a little bit different, is that as a European shaman, you absolutely have to know weapons because tribal, when they went to war, the women went with them.
Right.
First of all, they weren't sitting home. Women were just as good at horses, weapons, archery, uh, different forms because you didn't let your man go out there all by himself.
Oh, that's nice.
Right? Right. On the other part of that, though, is you really is the fact that you have to know weapons because you need to protect the chief. So most of the time, the shaman's with the chief when they go to war. Male or female shaman, you're going to war. Sometimes they had the shaman where they were giving advice, but they didn't go because they needed to protect the shaman who was helping in the battle in a different psychic way.
Mm.
Okay, so on the occult side, doing rituals and other things to protect.
Okay.
So I find it really funny because when I talk to people, it doesn't occur to them because I'm not yelling, I'm not aggressive, I'm very spiritual and positive, and I believe in karma. So it doesn't occur to them that I would know any weapons. And I know a lot of weapons.
That's good to know. I know where to go in case there's a
Right?
problem.
Oh, listen, I'm very good at that. We just don't explain that all the time.
Okay. Our physical world may appear very solid to us, but in actuality, we live in an energetic environment that houses different levels of frequencies, realms within realms. And depending on how high you vibrate, you can merge into a level where communication between the living and those who have transitioned can occur. So, what's your perspective on that?
Well, first of all, I do agree with everything that you said. And yes, there really is that situation, and everything in the universe is energy, just a different vibrational frequency. So, as an example, the Earth vibrates at 100,000 vibrations per second. Humans at 70 to 80,000 vibrations per second. So, when a healer, as an example, is using energy to heal somebody, they move up to the 100,000 vibrations per second to match the planet while they are healing. Okay. And then they drop back to their norm. It really all depends with the energy on how fast you vibrate. So if we were to take a solid object like a table as an example, it vibrates at a different rate than, as an example, a spirit would, since the table is extremely dense frequency wise. It's really a matter of vibrational frequency. So I look at it as vibrational frequency keeps the atoms moving and works with the atom's intelligence, whether it's an animate or inanimate object, on the spiritual or the physical plane.
So how would you say is the best way to increase that vibrational level then? So maybe that way we can help to, communicate and meet that higher level of existence.
Well, I would suggest a couple of things. I find meditation increases that because meditation is the link between man and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very strong connection. Meditation works. I find that you have to be vigilant to stay positive and to focus on the positive aspects. Like you have words of power, affirmations. So as an example, with words of power, I use the word cancel when I teach this or I speak in public places. I use the word cancel all the time to teach people because we all have negative thoughts. We're human.
Yeah.
So I love when people go, oh, I never think negatively. I'm thinking you're not breathing.
You're not being human then.
Right, not breathing. So everybody, even if you're going, oh, I'm so upset about my bills, or you're upset with a person, or you're upset with your job, or you're just having a bad day, okay? If you have a negative thought, we're always using the word cancel because we don't want to accidentally put out a negative thought because there's power in the word. And if you keep repeating something, eventually it's going to happen. So we're always using the word cancel. I have days where I'm walking around going, cancel, cancel, cancel. Right? So with words of power is an example that people can use. Okay, like I said, cancel is very good so you don't accidentally create a negative situation. And you can always get rid of a negative situation if you have a situation that's really bothering you. If you keep using the word cancel, it'll either change or it'll go away. But you have to be consistent with the intent behind it. There's also a word that I like to give people. It's called be. B-E, like let it be. Okay? And the intention behind that is healing. So if you keep repeating that word, eventually what it does is it heightens the healing within your body and it gives you peace. So there are definitely words that we consciously teach and use. And it's really more of a shamanic outlook. Also, I have a story you're going to love. I had a friend and a client named Robert. Wonderful, wonderful gentleman. And I met him years ago. And years ago, he was always going, oh, I'm never lucky. Nothing works for me. And he really wasn't lucky because that's all he was saying. He was putting out that he wasn't lucky. So in the classes, we were talking about it and I said, you really need to change it to I'm always lucky. Now, he changed the word to I'm always lucky. He did not believe it. He didn't think it was going to work. Has nothing to do with your belief system. It's vibrational energy. So he kept saying, I'm lucky. And he kept looking at me like, no, I'm not. Then we went back to cancel. So he kept saying, then he started saying, I'm always lucky. And it took about 8 months, honestly, 8-9 months, And after him saying that for a period of time, what happened was he started winning like crazy. He was winning tickets to baseball games. He was winning jackets to the different games. He would go to the carnivals and win presents for his nephews and nieces. It was funny. In fact, one time he won 2 tickets for the same day, one to a baseball game and one to a Broadway show in Manhattan.
Jeez.
And he couldn't go to both the same night. So I got to go to Broadway.
Yeah, I would have preferred the Broadway one myself. So basically, so basically, it's that would in itself would be like affirmations, where you would be stating.
It's statement.
Yes, you're making an I am statement.
Right. If you're saying I'm always lucky, but if you're just using a word like cancel or be, sometimes if you're only using 1 or 2 words, it actually works quicker. I don't know why. It's more that your subconscious mind can latch onto it stronger. The amount of words really works stronger than the long affirmation.
Maybe there's a vibrational level to certain words. Perhaps they're triggering mechanisms for us.
Definitely. And it really works on so many different levels.
So in terms of where the spirit realm is in our understanding of it, I can sense it as a realm that overlaps into our reality. So it runs through us since it's an experience of our consciousness. we're all part of this energy field, which is experienced at different levels of frequency. So that's how I pretty much see it. It's like I feel like we're in a world, in a reality. We see it as solid, but actually it's all energy running through it.
Oh, and I agree with you 100%. And I actually came across this Bible quotation recently. It says, "It is the spirit that giveth life." And by the way, that's in every spiritual belief system, not just in the Christian one. And what do you call it? Energy, chi, prana, argon energy, light. It's all the same spirit in a different vibration of the same, I say, cosmic energy. So everybody can tune into the spirit world. It just comes down to being synchronistic in that realm.
Mm.
So I look at it as the spirit realm, by the way, means indestructible light shamanically. I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay.
It really means indestructible light. So, and there are different spirit realms. There are spirit beings in the etheric world, discarnate, earthbound, several other types of entities. So as an example, there are spirit guides that we've heard of who choose to watch over the soul mind of people needing help here on earth. There are spirit guides from the etheric world who are here to help us with information. There are, spirit intelligence who have learned to be in sync with us. They understand man and why they exist on earth. I would look at it as a, specific breed of spirit. And I always try to mention to people that can be negative and positive spirits. So I would always suggest using some kind of psychic self-defense or protection when endeavoring to explore this area. If you wish to make some kind of contact on that level.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't care if they use my technique, some other technique, as long as it works. You need to make sure that you use some form of protection, because I always look at it as it's very physical in the spirit realm. People don't think of that. It's like electricity. And I know you and I've talked about it, and I say this all the time.
Mm.
I look at it as electricity. You don't see it, but you don't put your hand in the socket.
That's a helpful tip. And then there are individuals like yourself who have mediumistic abilities who are able to connect with them. So where are we in that area?
Well, there are several different types of medium. Okay, so they actually must connect to spirit on a magnetic fluid level with the nervous system. People don't realize, occult is really the oldest science. And anytime you work with spirit psychically, again, it's always been with us through time. It's not something new, but there are more technical things to it than people realize. So if the body chemistry of the person doing the reading, the mediumship, isn't good for the connection, the spirit will actually change the body chemistry after a few sessions to align for a better connection. And it's only while the mediumship is going on. It's not that they're going to change it permanently. It's just during the connection. And remember, spirit will never intrude on you because we all have free will.
All right.
That is innate really in all of us. Plus, remember, we do psychic self-defense first, the precaution. And then there's a difference between spirit medium and trance medium, though. A spirit medium lets any etheric being come into their body to help in a healing. It's specifically healing. A trance medium, however, is someone who consciously communicates with a spirit to allow it to come into their body, or to use the medium's ectoplasm so people can see part of the spirit. But a trance medium needs to be in sync again. So the medium's physical body chemistry has to be in sync with the etheric being. Mm-hmm. So as an example, I know we've talked about this because it just strikes me funny. Years ago, I was working at the Renaissance Festival, and I was doing readings, and spiritual work for months and months and months. So sometimes one thing triggers another. And my experience was that I was doing a reading, I was reading this lady, and all of a sudden I found myself where I felt like I was in a big gray room. I didn't see a floor, didn't see a ceiling. It just felt like a big gray room. And in the front of the room, I kept hearing somebody talking and talking and talking, and I had no idea what the person was saying. They were just talking. Now, in the back of the room, I'm thinking, I never get to see anything at the Renaissance because when I go in, everybody's setting up. When I'm done working, everybody's leaving. never get to see anything. So I'm thinking about all these other normal everyday thoughts. And then all of a sudden I heard something. I don't remember what it was. And I remember thinking, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And as soon as I heard that, as soon as I thought that, all of a sudden I just snapped back and I went, oh, that was me speaking. So it was really funny because I had no awareness, and I'm looking at the lady in front of me. I'm still speaking. I still don't know what I'm saying. And I'm looking at the lady in front of me to see if my head spun.
Yeah.
If I speak, I'm speaking differently. Nothing. She didn't even notice. So it was just really funny because I slipped into that. And when she got up and she left, the people that I was working there came over and they went, "Where did you go?" So psychic people noticed. Thank God the lady didn't, because I had no way to explain it at the time.
Right.
So it's really funny. So, which brings me also to transpossession, where you have no control over who comes into your body. So you're either giving up control to an entity, usually by choice, or for the spirit to use your body, such as your voice. Okay? But you just don't know who. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You need to know who it is.
I don't want to do that in your life. Just as an aside, I came across a really interesting lecture recently with Eckhart Tolle, who's a spiritual author and teacher, a really peaceful man. You're like wondering, is there like a pulse there? Because he's so quiet and so relaxed. And I'm like thinking, I wish I had whatever he had. But someone had asked him at his lecture about what happens when a pet dies and why are we so heartbroken when they do pass away. And he said that, we may look upon our dog or cat as what we've come to believe to be a lower species than us, but they are all beings and in an energy field just like us. Something inhabits the physical form, and it's their essence. That is what we really miss when they leave. Our language gives us the illusion that we usually know what a dog or even a human is, but we are all an experience of one consciousness on matter, no matter what label you give it. So basically, as humans, we give everything so many labels because we want to be able to control or identify what it is, but we lose the essence and the purity of what's really behind it. And anybody who has a pet, like I have a pet, and just you sense the purity of who they are. They're so authentic. You can't, and they all have different personalities, and it's just amazing to be able to to share life with a little being like that. But so what's your perspective on that?
Well, first of all, I read people, obviously, but I also read animals. And I find the difference that people think about is that we're thinking in terms of words and animals don't. And that's really not a fact. What happens is we think in terms of pictures. We always think visual pictures. So do animals.
Yes.
They're not thinking a word. And when you think of, say, pink elephant, you're seeing a pink elephant in your mind, not the letters spelling that out.
Yeah.
So people don't think of that. So that's why we can read animals, because they have the same type of connection. They have feelings. Well, because you have pets. And, they have feelings and they're sentient. Doesn't matter what the animal is. Okay? So we can tune into them. Now with people, this is how I look at it. With people, I look at it as a gigantic big ball of light, of energy. And I've been teaching this since, I don't know, I was 16. So forever. There's a big ball of light, and that's our source. Whether you call it God, spirit, universal mind, your source, whatever it is, it's your source. And think of rays of light coming out from your source. And each ray of light is a spirit, a soul. So we are all connected because we are all coming from the same source.
Right.
So when you look at it, okay, I look at it as we all have that connection. So when we're saying on the spiritual level, I am God, we're not saying we are the God or the source or the universal mind. What we're saying is we are all connected because we are all part of that energy.
Right.
Okay? So it makes a really big difference. But I find that we are all connected. And that's why.
Yeah. So any last words on this topic before we close on this little area of business?
Just that spirits are everywhere.
Mhm.
Whether you're in tune or not, they are present and vibrate at just different levels. And actually, when we dream at night, we all go out of body and travel utilizing our energetic body, and we can go through solid objects just as spirit would be able to,
Mhm.
that people just really don't think about because energy vibrates and it's not a solid situation that's man-made.
Mhm.
So you can actually, when you're going out of body, go through walls, go through different things. So we really are all energy, as we were saying before. And I just wanted to add,
Mhm.
may God bless you abundantly. And thank you so much for having me on the
Oh,
show.
you're welcome. And I just want to remind our listeners of one of the books that you do have out. It's called Traveling the Waves of Time, Contacting Beneficial Beings, and that's from your Yes You Can series. And that can also be, you can also get in touch with Maria at maria@deandrea.com. Also, a number that you can be contacted at is 631-559-1248. You can use that number to reach her from Monday to Friday. And if you would like to see other shows, other segments, videos, you can go to my website, miriamasilver.com. There you can find other shows and articles of different various topics on the paranormal, spirituality, and so on. So keep your vibrations high and your awareness open, because that's what really helps us get through the day. I will speak to you soon.